Hello. This piece of insulation can be made of finite fossil-based feedstocks. But such mineral wools can contain up to 75% of post-industrial recycled content. Or is this rock wool insulation, it could be made of basalt. Yeah, basalt, natural, but mined in open pits in Germany. Should one promote maybe insulation then of cotton blends, of wool, of hemp, straw, cork? Yeah, grown cotton is not quite environmentally friendly. Or should we subsidize or even prescribe? Merely say 100% bio-based, CO2 neutral, fully cradle-to-cradle certified, 100% biodegradable biofoam. Going from fossils to the bio-based economy is not that simple at all. In this video, we will introduce the arguments that can be used in debates on the bio-based economy. You will additionally get some insights on 4 troublesome challenges on the road to a bio-based economy. Bio-based materials are increasingly replacing fossil-based feedstock, not only for energy purposes, but also, for example, for materials and plastics. Expectations are quite high for this so-called bio-based economy. The Dutch government, like various other governments, and the OECD, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, and the European Commission, they expect a great future for such a bioeconomy. To quote a former Dutch minister, what Germany did for solar energy, and Denmark for wind energy, the Netherlands must do for the bio-based technology. However, bringing biomass to full valorization requires a system innovation in industry, policy and society. A system innovation can't be planned from a drawing board. No, it evolves as a result of all kinds of forces in society. So first, what are the arguments that will stimulate a transition to the bio-based economy? The grand promise of the bio-based economy is that it may harmonize economic interest with sustainability criteria. What's good for the environment may be aligned with attractive economic ambitions. A more specific advantage is the use of biomass to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. The emissions of fossil feedstocks cause emissions to the carbon cycle, but new biomass growth that captures such CO2. Moreover, the bio-based economy brings new commercial opportunities, in especially agriculture, biomaterials, chemistry, energy, and logistics. It may increase the value added of the biomasses and related value capture, expected to bring jobs and prosperity to the more rural areas and less educated groups in the society. Regarding energy sources, biofuels may advance energy security. Non-sustainable energy sources like oil and fossils, they are finite and often politically sensitive, while others such as wind and solar energy, they're rather unpredictable. Another advantage of promoting the bio-based economy is the increased self-sufficiency of countries, relatively rich in land, such as Brazil. Finally, research and education may benefit from this new frontier in economic opportunities. However, opposite the advantages, there are also arguments against the bio-based economy. Evidently, the food, fuel and material debate actually has shown that bioenergy and other more basic applications should not compete for high-valued crops with food, feed and pharma. Second, genetic modification for a more efficient growth of biomasses may be defended, but only when public acceptance is ascertained. Third, though biorefinery may hold huge promises, it's far from evident that the specific life cycle assessments will be positive. For the time being, every case must be assessed on its own merits. Fourth, when extracting biomasses from the fields, one should make sure that the biomass growth capacity of the soils will not be hampered. Finally, technological and commercial lock-ins, so-called path dependencies, must be prevented to keep better options for the future open. Large specific investments in and subsidies for biofuels are often mentioned as a negative example of bio-based developments. The combination of great promises with arguments in favor and arguments against the bio-based economy brings at least the following 4 challenges. The first challenge is the optimally valorization of biomasses. Deriving the most economically valuable components of biomass is hindered by dedicated investments, prescriptions, and the long-term subsidies for the biofuels and the bioenergy. A second challenge is the need to specify sustainability criteria for the diverse biomasses. International support is really needed for evolving harmonized sustainability criteria and the monitoring procedures. Third challenge is to balance the optimism versus skepticism. On the one hand, industry hopes to transform economic practices into more sustainable practices. And on the other hand, environmentalists recommend caution, claiming that only second and third generation biomasses may be considered sustainable. Fourth and final, policymakers and businesses must convince the public when sustainability may be better off with GM and large biorefineries than with small, extensive agricultural settings. In sum, the bio-based economy is a promising but rather open quest for a more sustainable economy. The bio-based economy can't be planned from a drawing board, and arguments for and against the bio-based economy converge in something like a balancing act with at least 4 challenges. The necessary new business developments should fulfill economic, social, and environmental criteria to ascertain the unpredictable transition from a growing bio-based economy.